Hey folks, and welcome to week number 8. Okay, so we have 2 turn-in dates this week. This is really just so we can get a proposal for SA3 turned in early, and then if you have any issues with it, you'll have some extra breathing room to turn around and resubmit. Okay, that's really what the 2 turn-in dates are really about. So watch the weekly video, go in and take a look at the SA3 assignment. So last week, you guys actually went ahead and looked at the sample essay 3. So you've actually already seen an example of this essay. Right now we're going to talk about the assignment. So the background, you can't quite see the side of it, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. You can go in and read this. So the idea for this essay came to me as I started to see people sharing via Facebook or Twitter or what have you. News stories, memes that were verifiably false, or more likely just an oversimplification of the actual story. But these sorts of news stories and the way we respond to them started me thinking we get a huge portion of our news in ways that didn't exist in our parents' generation, okay? They could read the newspaper, they could watch the news, they could go to the library, they could talk to the neighbors, but that was really what it meant to be information literate. Today we've got access to far more information. We're better for it, but it's also much easier to spread inaccurate information, okay? This is sort of like the game of telephone, if you guys played that as kids, right? You pass it from one person to the next, and it just sort of becomes inaccurate over time, okay? So today we can start with questionable information and pass it around far more quickly to more people, exacerbating the big problem. And some examples here. The belief that vaccines are unsafe. Thanks to Jenny McCarthy here, who almost single-handedly convinced a sizable minority of America that vaccines were unsafe. The idea that the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, limits cancer care to those over 75. Sarah Palin talked about this nonstop. There's nothing in the legislation that would do that. Okay, so in some portions of society, those ideas have taken hold and becomes what Stephen Colbert called truthy. The idea that if enough people believe it, it is true. So for Essay 3, I want you to investigate one of these types of claims. If you have Facebook or Twitter, or some other social media platform that shares, on which you might access some sort of news things or claims about the news anyway. Your friends who post articles or memes like this, start by taking a look at these articles or memes. If you don't, you can still do this. Just find a news website that acknowledges its political bias. So some examples here: Turning Point News or The Blaze. On the other side of the aisle, Alternet and Mother Jones are possibilities, okay? Find a single article that you think looks somewhat questionable, identify the claims made in the article, then identify the claims you'd like to investigate for Essay 3, okay? And then you're going to lay those claims out in your proposal. So your job in the essay is actually determine whether or not the news or information presented in this news is accurate by doing research. So if we think back to Essay 1, where you were taking a look at an essay that referenced a study and trying to figure out whether or not that article did a good job of explaining the study. We're not too far from that here, with the exception of this doesn't necessarily need to reference a study, it just needs to say that X is the case, okay? And if then your job is to go in and do research and figure out whether or not X really is the case, or whether that's an oversimplification of the truth or something of that sort, okay? So that's what we've got here. I'm going to give you a couple hints. Number one, don't look for something from a major national news agency. CNN, Fox, although we talk about political bias in the news all the time, those are going to be substantially accurate. They might choose to cover things in a slightly different way or focus on some things more or less, but they're going to be substantially accurate. But once we get out of sort of the mainstream news, that's when things start to get a little bit different. And so that's kind of what I want you to think about. Either something that is in non-mainstream news or something that just shows up in a Facebook feed. There's some examples of possible articles I'll show you here. Hang on one second. So down here at the bottom is, if you're struggling to find something, take a look at this list. You can certainly use one off of it, but that'll give you some ideas as the sorts of things that should work for this essay, okay? So you can either use it to give yourself some ideas about the sort of things that will work. You can straight up grab one from it, but I would like you to try to find something that appeals to you and what you want to research yourself, okay? So there are a couple different ways to go about finding the article for this. There's a proposal template. Please download that. A sample proposal. Just basically follow use the template and create something that looks like the sample proposal, and then submit your proposal. That's going to be due on Friday. It's going to be due on Friday so that we can I can get you some feedback early on it. Okay. Again, if you're struggling to find an article or a meme, just like a meme that goes around that makes a claim, it's got to make a specific claim. It just can't be a funny meme. It's got to make a specific claim. You can consult that page, okay? Then, I want you to watch Revising an Essay here and submit your Essay 2 final draft, okay? So think about how to go about revising that essay and then revise and submit Essay 2. That's everything for week number 8. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to let me know.